Uh-oh, it's one of those divisive movies. Yeah, when it comes to Friday the 13th Part 5, some people love it, and a lot of people hate it. I'm pretty sure the main reason for this is that Jason isn't the killer. I get it. Halloween went through a similar midlife crisis with Halloween 3, but this one's a little more baffling to me. Jason may not be the killer, but at least it's still set in the same universe. The characters still reference Jason, and technically, you're supposed to think he's the killer until the very end of the film.
Jason Voorhees! You're out of your mind. You've been out in the sun too long. Jason Voorhees is dead.
It's a classic whodunit, taking a page from the first movie, where they don't actually reveal the killer until the third act. Tommy Jarvis is back. Wait a minute. That's not Tommy Jarvis. I mean, they planned on casting Corey Feldman again.
Unfortunately, Spielberg fucked up all our plans because he decided he wanted me in a couple films.
John Shepard plays Tommy all grown up, but I've got to say we sorely miss Corey Feldman. I'm sure John Shepard is a fine actor in other things. I wouldn't really know because he says maybe 11 words in the whole film.
Kid's a real talker.
I noticed.
And I know you don't necessarily need a lot of dialogue to be a good actor, but this isn't the same character from Final Chapter. I know he's supposed to be traumatized and he's undergone psycho-drug therapy, but it's just not that character.
Some pack of patooties, huh?
It's almost like this one takes place in an alternate universe. The cast is what makes this one entertaining for me. Everyone is so over the top, it's hilarious. No one tops Carol Locatell as Ethel Hubbard. She's a treat.
Say it like you mean it, Ma.
Would you shut the up?
She has to be one of the worst characters in the entire franchise, and I laugh every time she's on screen.
You big dildo. Eat your slap.
She's a delight. But everyone else is a raging psychopath. What's funny is Part 5 takes place at a halfway house where all of its inhabitants are in some kind of rehabilitation program. You'd expect these characters to be the more colorful ones, but guess what? These people are more or less normal. It's everyone around them that act batshit crazy. The sheriff, the mayor, the paramedic, these two guys that everyone thinks are gay for each other, who look like they're straight out of The Outsiders. I did some reading on the background for this film, and it seems like there were drugs all over the set. I think everyone was coked out of their minds when they made this.
This ain't starting, man. Up again, it ain't starting. I'm gonna kick your ass. Kick your ass. Come on now.
It also has a sleazy quality to it, more so than even Final Chapter. Hey, I love me some nudity, but I'm pretty sure some of these girls were cast because of the size of their breasts. The director, Danny Steinman, was tied to the adult film industry, but I can't be too hard on him.
It's hard, but it's not like hard.
These are exploitation films after all, but this one, more than any of the other entries, feels really close to a softcore porno.
In the background, off screen, is Danny Steinman, the director, yelling, "Come on, f her harder. Come on, grab her."
Like I mentioned, technically Jason isn't the killer this time. I won't spoil who the killer is, but I think we can all agree that they really bungled this up. Everything from the killer's motives to the reveal of who the killer is, it's just executed in a really sloppy way and makes for a pretty unsatisfying conclusion. But until that reveal, it might as well be Jason. It is a guy in a hockey mask, and even though it doesn't have the most creative kills, there are some good ones. And because Tommy is so messed up, he does hallucinate a lot, so we do get a glimpse of the actual Jason in some scenes. His presence is felt throughout the film, so it kind of surprises me that people don't look at this one a little more favorably. It still follows the exact formula of the past films. People walk around calling out names of other characters until they get killed. It's basic stuff. I have to say, though, there are a lot of characters who get introduced just so they can get killed in the very next scene. This was a trend that started in Final Chapter, but this movie does that in abundance. Lana the waitress, Pete and Vinny, Demon and Anita, they're literally on screen for a few minutes before they get the axe. Pun intended. And with so many characters, the deaths are pretty quick. There's a high body count, but you won't get anywhere near the same level of carnage we got in Part 4. As far as the three surviving characters, the best one hands down is Reggie the Reckless. Like in Part 4, he's a kid a lot of us can relate to.
Do me a favor. Don't kiss me when there's people around, okay?
And there's something about putting a kid in danger that adds to the chaos. And he has his moments where he tries to fend off the killer, so good for you, Reggie. Pam is a dumb blonde who fumbles around in the rain and doesn't do anything. She is by far the weakest final girl up to this point. And nothing against blondes, but she just perpetuates that dumb blonde persona. She runs around screaming and makes absolutely no attempt to fight off the killer. Hell, a little boy has more guts than she does. As far as Tommy goes, he has two basic emotions, psychotic and even more psychotic. He's either really quiet, lost in his thoughts, or he's an uncontrollable train wreck. This makes him one of the most uninteresting characters in the whole franchise. This version of him, I'm saying. As a character, I like Tommy. I like Corey Feldman's version the best, obviously, but the screenwriter or whoever was ultimately responsible just had no clue. I know these movies don't have much in the way of character development, but it doesn't cost anything to write good characters. It would have been nice if Tommy had some kind of arc where he finally comes into his own by the end of the film and saves the day. I mean, he does save the day, technically, but he's just as messed up in the final scene as he is when we're first introduced to him. It's a wasted opportunity, especially when you consider that this transformation isn't carried over to the next film. Part 5 is an entertaining movie, but maybe for the wrong reasons. I mean, for a movie that has the balls to call itself A New Beginning, it's really just the same movie with a 5 in its title. And if you watch the opening credits, they couldn't even get that right. Yeah, the on-screen title has left out the number 5, which really irks me. But seriously, it fails to deliver on the promise of giving us something new. I know a lot of fans hate this one, which again is kind of weird because it essentially is the same type of movie. But that being said, any movie without Jason is not going to sit right with fans, so they might as well have done something crazy like what they did with Halloween 3. In the grand scheme of things, I'm kind of glad they didn't go down that road because the Halloween series is a friggin' mess, and I'm glad that with this series, they at least stuck close to the train tracks. It doesn't deviate too much. Hell, this is more of a Friday the 13th film than, say, when New Line Cinema took over the series. Like with Part 3, even though I think I like this one better just for its entertainment value and batshit crazy characters, you could probably just jump from Part 4 to Part 6 and not miss anything.